hold on. This is Algebra lesson 9.2b. We're doing 9.2 again. Okay, so here's the question. It says to solve each equation by graphing. Okay, it says x squared plus 2x minus 24 equals 0. I'll tell you right now, if somebody told me to solve this by graphing, if there was a multiple choice question on my SATs or the Terra Novas, and they said, solve this by graphing, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to solve it by graphing. I'm going to find the answers using, what would you do here? See what multiplies to negative 24 and adds to 2, and then you come up with, right? Does that make sense? But whatever. If they leave you a blank and they say they want to see the graph, okay, now you got to know how to do that, right? But whatever. Here's the deal. They want us to solve this by graphing, okay? So what's the first thing we do when we're going to solve by graphing? Draw the coordinates, right? Get the coordinate plane down, okay? What's the next thing we do? We got to find the, where's this thing going to be folded into? Axis symmetry. What is the formula for the axis symmetry? Minus b over 2a. Okay, so minus b over 2a is negative 2 over 2 times 1. Negative 2 over 2 is negative 1. So the axis of symmetry equals 1. Negative 1, negative 1. Negative 1, which means that it's right here. We know this. Okay? We also know, just by looking at this, what can we tell on this thing? We know it's a positive, so it's a right side up u. We also know it crosses the y at, negative 24. So, oh boy, right? So that means, what are we going to need to do here? I'm actually going to need to erase that thing. Agreed? Erase that thing and make it be a lot closer. We're going to make each line probably how many? I would say 4, right? I would make them 4. So that means that this right here is going to be negative 1. Does that make sense? That's negative 1. And then, okay, so then if it crosses at 24, negative 24, negative 24, that would be 2, 4, 6. That means it's going to cross right here. That's one of them right here. Okay, let's keep going now. Now that I know the axis symmetry is negative 1, I plug that in to the formula so that I can find what? The vertex. When x is negative 1, what's y? Okay, so I plug in negative 1. Negative 1 squared plus 2 times negative 1 minus 24 equals 0. Okay, so negative 1 squared is 1 minus 2 minus 24 equals 0. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Negative 1 minus 24 is negative 25. So y equals negative 25. That means that the vertex is at negative 1, negative 25, which is like right. I need to do this in different colors just so that we can do this. Okay, so we know that it crosses here, and it's like right here. Does that make sense? Okay, and so we reflect it across. It's right here. And so now we have our parabola. Do you see why graphing this is difficult? Why is graphing this difficult? Because, from here, couldn't we go all the way out here? Isn't that possible? Or could it be like right here? You see what I'm saying? It could be any of that. It's tough to tell. It's not enough information. So we have a choice. We can either make a table. Ugly. Takes a lot of time, right? Or what can we do? If it's possible, you just go up here and solve this. And what's that going to tell us? Solving it's going to tell us what? It's going to tell us the roots. What's the roots mean? Where it crosses the x. All of a sudden, that's going to give us something up here, right? Well, that's what we want. Now, all of a sudden, now we'll have this thing graphed. So we know this part down here. We know that part's true. Now we just have to go up here and let's solve this. All right, so let's do it. What multiplies to 24 and adds to 2? 4 and 6, right? So which one's got to be which? Which one's a positive, which one's negative? So it's x and x, and we have a plus 6 and a minus 4. Why plus 6 minus 4? When you add them together, it makes a positive 2. If I did it the other way around and did minus 6 plus 4, then that would add up to a negative 2. That's no good. So this is it. So then what are my roots? X plus 6 equals 0. X minus 4 equals 0. What are they? Negative 6 and 4. Right? Well, negative 6, which is here, and 4, which is here. And so all of a sudden, now I have my parabola. Does that make sense? Does it make sense? if this is not enough information, at that point, is it going more up or is it out? I mean, it's just, we aren't good enough at this to know. So you need the extra points there. Make sense? Okay. That's how to do one of those. What about this? I'm going to do number 17. Number 17 is negative 2x squared minus 8x equals 13. I'm going to fix that. Equals 13? 13. Okay, the first thing we need to do here is this. Is this even a quadratic right now? No, it's not. It's not even a quadratic yet. What do I have to do? What is a quadratic? What is the formula for a quadratic? What is the quadratic equation? Equals 0. It's got that 13's a problem, so we got to get it out of here. So we're going to go negative 2x squared minus 8x minus 13 equals 0. See, I subtracted 13 from both sides. Does that make sense? Okay, so there we're at. Now we have something we can graph. Let's do it. Let me draw my coordinate plane. All right. Is this going to be an easy one to just solve? No, because of that negative 2. Agreed? I mean, all of a sudden when we have that, first of all, can I pull something out of that? No, and so, okay. Here's the deal. Let's graph it first. Let's graph it first, because you can always graph one of these. You can always graph one. Let's look at it. First of all, we know it's going to be upside down, right? So, okay, but we'll deal with that later. First thing we do is we draw the coordinate plane. We did. Next thing we do is we find the axis symmetry. Minus b over 2a. Minus b. So negative 8 over 2 times negative 2. Negative 8 is a positive 8. 8 over negative 4 makes it a negative 2. So the axis symmetry is negative 2. This thing's going to cross at negative 13. So because I have enough room on my paper, I'm going to do 13, but we already know that that's kind of a mess. Do you agree with me? But we'll do it to 13 just so that we can, you know. Okay, so it crosses at negative 2, which means it's this. Yes? Negative 2. I don't know where it's going to land. Okay, here we go. And then now we also know that we need to find the vertex. Right? Got to find the vertex. The vertex is, got to plug in negative 2, right? So negative 2 times negative 2 squared minus 8 times negative 2 minus 13 equals 0. Actually, it would be equal to y, right? Equal to y. But we'll come back. Okay, negative 2 squared is 4. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. Negative 8 times negative 2 is a plus 16 minus 13 equals y. Negative 8 plus 16, 8. 8 minus 13, negative 5. So y equals negative 5. So that means that it's right down here, negative 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's that, right? Where do we know that it crosses? Negative 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's right here. And we can reflect it across right here. And so look, do I need to keep going here? We did graph it. Agreed? We graphed it. And we looked at it and we go, wait a second. So what is the solution to this then? What's the solution? There's no solution. How come? It never crosses the x. Right? You're looking at it. Where does it cross the x? It never does. There's no solution to this. There's no answer that makes this true. X can't be anything to make that true. Yeah.
So you can't pull anything out of it to factor? It's no solution?
There's nothing to pull out, yeah. All you have to do is look at this and go, okay, let's now do it the other way. Let's do it the other way. We just graphed it and figured out that there was no solution. Let's do this. Let's solve it. We look at this and go, oh, there's a negative 2 here. So that means I have to find the factors of 26, right? Negative 2 times negative 13, 26. Factors of 26 are 1, 2, 13, and 26. That's it. Which of those two guys is going to add up to 8? Which of them could possibly add up to an 8? Right? Nothing. So that means you'd call this prime. You'd call it prime. Right? It's prime. And there's no solution. Yes, sir.
Could you try to factor x squared minus 8x plus 9?
What?
Could you try to factor x squared plus 8x plus 9.
You could always try. What multiplies to 9 and adds to negative 8?
I don't think anything.
Right.
That's why it's prime then.
So it's prime.
That was number 8.
Right. So it doesn't, just because it's prime doesn't necessarily mean that there's no solution. Just trust me. Just go down the list. Graph it. Right? And if you see it doesn't cross the x's, that means it has no roots. Make sense? Okay. I don't know. That's really all. That's it. You just go down these lists. Right? Just go down and do it. Here's your quiz. I'm going to give you number on page 593, I want you to do number 16, 18, um, 16 and 18. And on page, we'll go back to our lesson. What page is this? Is it? Yeah. And on page 540, do number 13. Okay, those three. This is your quiz. All right, page 593, number 16. You're following along here. The process doesn't change, right? Each time you do this kind of a question, you just go down the list. If you don't know the list, write the list down. You're looking at it. It is a quadratic, and they say to solve it by graphing. Okay. First thing you do is you draw your graph, right? You draw the coordinate plane. Okay. Now that you got the coordinate plane drawn, the next thing you do is you find the axis of symmetry, right? You find out where is this coordinate, where is this thing going to be folded? Number 16, it says x squared minus 3x minus 4 equals 0. We all know that whatever comes in front of the x is a, that's b, and that's c, right? You know that, a, b, c. So then to find the axis of symmetry is minus b over 2a. Got to find it. So that's the first step. I'll write it again for you guys. The first step is to draw the coordinate plane. The second step is to find the axis of symmetry, which is minus b over 2a. We've done this, right? I had you guys write this down before. Minus b over 2a minus negative 3, right? Negative 3 over 2 times 1. There's a 1 there. What is negative 3 over 2 times 1? What is it? It's 3 halves, right? It's a positive 3 halves. So the axis of symmetry is 3 halves. Okay, we can erase all this now. It's 3 halves. It's sitting there on 1.5. Right? Okay. Now what do? What's the next thing I do is I have to find the vertex. Find the vertex. You find the vertex by plug in axis. Right? By plugging in the axis. So it's going to be 3 halves squared minus 3 times 3 halves minus 4 equals y. Okay? What is 3 halves times 3 halves? 9/4, not 6. 9/4. Minus, what's 3 times 3 halves? Look, do you agree that this right here is that?
4.5.
Whatever. I'm doing it with fractions. It's 9 halves, right? It's negative 9 halves minus 9 halves, right? Minus 4 equals y. So I agree. I mean, that's not pretty, but you guys are in algebra now. I mean, you should know how to deal with fractions, right? You should be able to deal with fractions. No problem. What do I do with this? 9 fourths minus 9 halves. Can I even subtract that the way it sits? No, I have to turn this thing into, I have to have the common denominator. So that means this is going to become an 18 and this is a 4. What is 9 fourths minus 18 fourths? Negative 9 fourths. Negative 9 fourths minus 4. Now here's the deal. Negative 9 fourths is negative 2 1/4, right? Negative 2 1/4 minus 4 is negative 6 1/4, right? So y equals negative 6 1/4. I agree this is ugly, but you just do it. So y is negative 6 1/4. So you got to find negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 1/4. That means it's right down about right there. Yes? And then where does it cross the y? Now, okay, next step. Plot the y-intercept. And it's what? What? Plot the y-intercept and its reflection. Okay, so the y-intercept is at negative 6 1/4. Sorry, that's not true. The y-intercept is at negative 4. This guy right here. Negative 4, so it's right here. Its reflection then is, that would be 1.5. That would be over here, right? And now I graph it. This is truly how you graph it. This is what you do. That's how you graph it. The problem is that this does not tell us very accurately what the actual solution is. Do you agree? But this is how you graph it. And you can tell how many solutions are there going to be. There's going to be 2. Going up, it's going to hit the x twice, boom. So this is the graph, though. You can be done graphing here. You graphed it. And I could take a guess and say that I think the answer is going to be negative 1 and 4. I can do that based on what I just kind of guessed here, where I threw it up. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Okay. I'm assuming that they're going to give me an answer that's on the lines. Right? I mean, that's my assumption. And even if they didn't, when I talk about it to somebody, I'm gonna say, well, it's gonna be around negative 1 and 4, right? So anyway, then what you do is to find the real. Listen, if all they say is to solve this by graphing, you could do this. Take it. Hopefully, you guess right and get it right. Maybe. If I want the exact answer, if I say solve this by graphing, find me the roots. Oh. Solve it by graphing, and then I say, find me the roots. The roots are where it actually does cross the y, the x. You better find the roots then. How do you do that? You go back up here, and you just solve this like normal. We have x squared minus 3x minus 4 equals 0. What multiplies to negative 4 and adds to negative 3? X minus 4, x plus 1 equals 0. You know how to do this. What's the solution? Negative 1 over. Oh, that's what I had. Does that make sense? And I didn't even look at the answer. That's really what I guessed because I graphed it correctly. That's how you do it. Does it make sense? Okay. Your homework. Yeah, you're excited. You want like a bunch of these or what? I got to give you at least like 3 or 4. I mean, all right. I want numbers. You wish. On page 540, I want number 10, 12. An 8, no. 10, 12, and those are such big numbers. 10, 12, and those are big numbers.
-1.
And 24. Okay, those are big numbers. Can't do anything about it. I mean, I could have given you number stinking 19 if you want, or number 21. I mean, those numbers are ginormous. 80 and 72 and... Oh, that's true. It's 540, 10, 12, and 24. I did give you the easy ones. They all come out even. Oh, right. I also gave you the easy ones. I'll tell you right now, they all come out to whole numbers.